Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical, and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.
And welcome to the show. So today is Tuesday. So welcome to A Coffee with Karen. This is going out live on Mintwave Radio. So ask Alexa or go to the website /Mintwave-radio to listen in and look at the schedule for the rest of the week. Otherwise, if it's via podcast, you can download the Podbean app for Android and Apple and take a look at the other podcasts that are available on the network. Please feel free to subscribe to any, follow or leave a comment. Now, today's episode is 140, and today we have the lovely Dr. Mary Sanders, a chiropractor and a medical intuitive. And we're going to be talking about burnout. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and I just hold a space for coaches and therapists to get their message heard to the people who need to hear it. Dr. Mary has over 25 years of experience as a self-employed businesswoman and consultant. And 15 years ago, she experienced burnout firsthand and she crashed hard. Now, at the time, she didn't have the necessary tools to navigate through this difficult period in her life. So she actually panicked. She ran away to the other side of the world. And now she's wholeheartedly committed to supporting women who want to transform the way they show up in this world and experience thriving health, happiness, and purpose, utilizing the tools of energy medicine, chiropractic, functional blood chemistry analysis, and positive psychology. So this really is a holistic approach to helping people. So, Dr. Mary, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking your time out today to speak to us.
It's my honor, Karen. First and foremost, thank you. I believe the container that you are holding for your audience, approaching the mind, body, spirit, is truly an integrative approach. And I just want to express sincere gratitude for the intention, the level of intentionality that you place within this show. So thank you so much for having me. It is my honor.
Great to have you here. So, I mean, that's pretty extreme, right? Escaping, running away to the other side of the world when you experience burnout. So would you like to share with the audience, how did that all come about?
Yes. Well, I need to start a little bit further back in my history to give you a better explanation as to how I ended up at the place that I was at, where I was so miserable that I completely blew up my world. One of the things that I want to share with the listeners is that I graduated chiropractic school at the young age of 25. And I literally had no business training. I didn't have a business coach. I was out there in this world wanting to succeed based on pure will. So I would go out there and market my business and not knowing what I was doing. I had a tremendous amount of failures. I had events that didn't pan out for new clients. And then I had a few successful events, but through perseverance and resilience and consistency, eventually those few events turned out to create a thriving business. And I can remember when I first started, I had a 200 square foot office. I had my portable adjusting table from my chiropractic school. I had my kitchen table, and then I went to an auctioneer place, and I had a small little buffet place. And I think my rent was maybe about $200 a month, and it was on the back porch of an old Victorian down in downtown Colorado Springs. That was my first office. Okay, so about 18 months after that, Karen, I moved from that small little office to a square foot facility across town that was 1,800 square feet.
Wow,
So
that's some growth.
a serious growth within 18 months. And then all of a sudden, I had a wellness type practice. So not only myself, I had an acupuncturist, a neurolinguistic programmer, a massage therapist, and a variety, and a rehab specialist, and a variety of various different modalities. So here we are. We're there for probably 6 years. And then I decided to purchase a freestanding 5,000 square foot facility. So from there, I then opened up a satellite practice and expand. I had multiple doctors, multiple staff, and needless to say, I was on fire, driven, focused. That's all I could do.
Were
And
you happy?
oh my goodness, Karen, I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And I emotionally, and then, I'm kind of embarrassed to share these stories, but I mean, I represented all the signs that you could physically, emotionally, and behaviorally see within burnout. I was exhausted. My immune system was compromised. I had huge dysfunction within my thyroid. My skin was an absolute mess. I was unable to sleep through the night. And that's just the physical stuff. Emotionally, I was experiencing a lack of self-worth. I wasn't really ever good enough. No matter how many new patients I had coming into the practice, it was never enough. And so consequently, I felt pretty lonely as a self-employed business person, as a female, to be honest with you. And so I became a little bit more kind of pessimistic, a little bit cynical. I was not necessarily the most optimistic person that you could be. And then I started to withdraw from people, to withdraw from my family who lived in town and from my husband. So we started experiencing some turbulence as well. And then, Karen, I realized that I was going through some adrenal exhaustion and my hormones were all over the place. And so I underwent some integrative holistic therapies, but it took about a year of doing Myers cocktails and glutathione injections and tons of adrenal supplements and regular sleep and no exercise. It took about a year for me to be able to get enough energy to literally be able to walk a mile. So
Wow.
I know, and I'm somebody that was doing triathlons. I was running, I was swimming, I was doing all these wonderful activities because I love to exercise. And then I found out that my body didn't. It was too much stress on my body, so I couldn't continue to have that kind of demand. So, Karen, it was just not a pretty situation. It really wasn't. And I wasn't being very graceful at it at all. I was drinking too much alcohol. I was eating too much food. I didn't care about blood sugar imbalances. I was just very gluttonous in how I was trying to meet my own emotional needs. And my husband sat me down one night, and this is the true story, Karen. He's like, "So, do you think that you could leave everything behind you and go live internationally?" And I said, "No, I'm 100% confident that I could not do that. This is my baby. This is what I have spent all of my blood, sweat, and tears over the last 20 some odd years. I'm not walking away." And he's like, "Well, let me share with you." And he said this from a place of such love and compassion that I couldn't get defensive and I couldn't get angry. He's like, "Okay, if that's what you believe, then you're physically going to continue to have issues, if not bigger issues. And quite honestly, your family really loves you and supports you, but they're concerned. And I can't continue our relationship the way that it is going." And so I sat with it, and Karen, it really was a lot of internal work. And I said, "Okay, I surrender." And he says, "Well, I want to let you know that I'm glad you're surrendering because I have an opportunity mid school year to take over a school in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam." So literally 45 days later, I had sold, both practices, the house, the contents, everything. We unloaded, and I had myself, my dog, Puka, who is a Welsh Corgi, my husband, 2 suitcases and a box. And we woke up however many hours later in Ho Chi Minh City. I was completely disoriented. And I wondered, who am I? What am I doing? What do I stand for? What's my purpose being here on this planet? I went through a huge identity crisis. Was not pretty.
But I mean, that is a massive shift in such a short time as well
Yes.
to have done that. So, yeah, how did you move on from that? How did you then find your purpose?
That's a good question. But I will say that, if you have an owie and you have a Band-Aid over it, the best way is just to rip the Band-Aid over and get it done nice and quick. I think I was a little bit too aggressive with that one. But but not, you never know until you have to live it, right? You have to live it. So what ended up happening, we landed in Ho Chi Minh City, and I really was quite devastated. And I found at that time I was really getting into yoga and the beauties of what that offers to the physical body and to the mind. So I decided to leave my husband in Ho Chi Minh City, and I traveled down to Bali, Indonesia. And I spent about 45 days down there by myself, undergoing a yoga teacher's training certification. And so and I spent time by myself, it was just the perfect thing for me to do at the time to figure out how did I end up here and where am I going now? And something really amazing happened in that I started to tap into the importance of meditation. So I left Bali, came back to Vietnam, and I started doing some online meditation courses. I didn't know how to meditate, Karen. I mean, I would try to do a body scan, and I swear after 5 minutes, I would fall asleep. I would get I couldn't hold or maintain a focus. And slowly but surely, I really started to tap into meditations and the magic behind it. And so then I was like, wow, okay, so let me wrap my head around this. I know the human body incredibly well from the neck on down, being a chiropractor for all of those years. And then I'm like, what's happening between the space between the ears? What's happening within the neurology of the brain? Like from a neuroscience perspective, what's happening? Because I'm shifting, what's happening energetically with the meditation, what's going on. So that's when I was living in Ho Chi Minh City, flew to upstate New York to take a certification in positive psychology with Dr. Tobin Shahar. And then I came back to Ho Chi Minh City with all these new tools and all the research about what happiness looks like and what well-being looks like. So my whole paradigm of wellness completely shifted. Right? So here I am going from the physical and adding in the mental and adding in the understanding of what's happening, through meditation. And so my husband I was like, read this book, take this survey, take this experiment. And he's like, this is phenomenal. And my instructor at the time said, if you really want to make an impact, show up and do positive psychology in a corporation, or better yet, do it within a government. Or if you have the capacity, show up within the educational field. And so my husband said, hey, you're on to something. What if we designed a positive psychology program that was delivered to teachers so that they could embody the principles of positive psychology and role model it to the students? I was like, I can get behind that. So we started designing this curriculum, positive psychology for educators. We left Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. We moved to the other side of the world again, and we went to Bogota, Colombia.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's where I started writing curriculum. And we created a nonprofit organization called Aviva Education. And we thought we were designing a program that was to be delivered to teachers within the United States. But whenever we took this program into the United States and tried to market it, the teachers were like, we are overloaded. We do not need a new program. And oh, by the way, we know how to teach happiness. But what we didn't understand, Karen, which is all not true, okay? So let's just call it what it is. But Karen, what happened was the schools in South America were so hungry and so thirsty for this. So as fast as I could write curriculum in English, it was being translated into Spanish. So I'm not fluent in Spanish. I can order a meal in Spanish. I can tell the taxi driver where to go, but my Spanish is really terrible. And so I knew that there was a cultural difference that needed to be addressed. And I knew that the program and the teachers needed to be native speakers. They needed to either be from Colombia or Peru or any of those countries. And so it took off. The program took off. So I still was sitting with, okay, this is great. This is great, but this still doesn't feed my soul. And at this time, as fate has it, there was an opportunity for us to leave South America, and we went and did a minor sabbatical in Bali, Indonesia, where we took a time out, a midlife crisis, if that's what you want to call it. And we still continued to write and develop curriculum. And then we decided, okay, so we're going to literally come back through Peru, back into Cartagena, Colombia, so we can disperse this information. And two things happened during this transition. Number one, my mother passed, and shortly thereafter, I had my older sister, unfortunately, due to drugs and alcohol, also passed. So here I am saying, okay, I got the physical body. Now I've got the understanding of the mental body. But goodness gracious, there is the energetic body that I get to tap into, because there were some really, really dynamic energetic experiences that I had as the direct result of my family members passing. Now, I'm going to pause there, Karen, because what I need to share with the audience is that I was born hearing impaired. I hear 50% as to what a normal hearing person hears, and I went undiagnosed for the first 3 years of my life. Now, why do I bring this up? Is because it took 3 years for me to perceive the world from an extrasensory perception, above and beyond the traditional 5 senses that we assimilate information on a daily basis. And so I lived in this spiritual realm. And so even though I had my own physical challenges, I was also developing some really good, strong intuition and clairsentience and some clairvoyance as well. But because I was not with it, I was being raised in the Midwest by a good old fashioned family, in the middle of corn and beans, and in a good old Catholic family. And, those gifts were not necessarily cultivated. So I consciously decided to desensitize my skills. Okay. So then as a chiropractor, I started to get back tapping into some of the energetics. So I knew that I was allowing them to come forth as an adult again. And so here I am. I'm like, this is it. I totally need to embody more spiritually, connect my spirit into my physical body, and be a conduit as a medical intuitive. So I did my training in Sausalito, California at the Academy of Intuition Medicine. And through my decades of meditation and my awareness of the physical body, now I hold sacred space for people. And I primarily use clairsentience, where I feel other people's physical bodies and their emotional bodies within my own. So I can help people heal from that perspective. And my psychometry is pretty spot on with the years of using my hands as a chiropractor. I'm able to remotely detect energies and densities and temperatures and foreign energies throughout the space of my hands, which taps into my clairvoyance, which then opens up my direct knowing. So, Karen, I couldn't have planned this path. There's no way.
But, but when you look back, you see it all joining up, right? All the skill sets that you needed now, you were gaining over the years from the different aspects of the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. Do you feel? So it's interesting that when you were young, and because again, we rely on these 5 physical senses. So do you believe that because one was slightly down, that enhanced the more intuitive mental muscles, if you like?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. But I do, in the same sentence, in the same breath, I want to say that we all of us, everyone listening, has the capacity to tap into these frequencies and this information. We all have it. It is a skill that you can learn. It's not something that you just innately are born with, although I believe that we all are. So it's just a matter of fine tuning and listening because everybody receives the information differently. It's amazing how people receive information.
And so I suppose, like anything, it's just that we don't know. So most of us just haven't learned how. Some may have naturally just been open to it and connected with that being a child, but others, I mean, not that I am, right, but I totally get that I do believe we all have the ability, we just haven't learnt how to do it or haven't become in tune to it. But again, just like anything, I would have thought that it would still need practice to fine tune it. It's not just gonna boom, there you go. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. I meditate on a daily basis. I hold space on a daily basis for my patients. So I intentionally put myself in that expanded state to receive information. And there'll be, my intention is to be able to walk in this world 24/7, to be able to receive information. Right now, I'm incredibly a highly sensitive individual to where I'm trying to figure out how not to absorb everyone's energies. And I think that's a discussion worthy of having because I know a lot of your listeners are in the service industry and that they are giving to their patients or their clients or whomever they're serving their energy because they feel that they're being paid for a service that they have to then give 110% of themselves. And this, quite honestly, was one of the first things that I learned at the academy that made me pause. It made me pause because as a practicing chiropractor for all of these years, I wish that I would have been taught this tool from the very, very beginning because I believe that if I could have learned to manage my energy centers from day one, I would have never have had to go through the series of burnout. I believe that.
I can see that because I come from a very physical background. I taught fitness for 25 years and a sports therapist for 27. Now, I chose, even though personal training might have been more lucrative, and I did have a personal training business for a while with trainers, but I personally enjoyed more teaching group classes. And now I realize it was because of the energy exchange. Whereas one-to-one or doing sports massage, I felt that my energy was actually being drained, right? Whereas even though you'd think it's, of course it's physically more demanding, teaching a high energy class, But because of the energy transference, I give a lot of energy, but I actually got a lot of energy back. Whereas doing sports massage, it was draining me because we didn't talk about energy. That it was, muscles, tendons, ligaments. It starts there, it ends there, and that does that, and this does that. So that means that's the problem. Very, ego, mind, fix it, fix the problem. So we were never taught this stuff about energy and frequency. So how would you? So that's probably why I was fine teaching, even though it was physically demanding, because I was getting energy. So how do you protect yourself if you're a therapist or anything like that, any coach really?
Sure. Karen, what I want to share with the listeners is a technique that I was taught again at the academy. It's a neutral separation technique. And I'd like to walk my way through what this process looks like with the audience so that you can embrace what it's like to receive your energy back. Because I think, and I know, I don't think, I know to be true that as service providers, we give everything. We give 110%. And so energetically, what's happening that the center, the second energy center, and I'm talking about the chakra system right now, that's most intimately connected and dialed open as an empathic person. So when we're in the healing arts, we want people to be free of their emotional trauma, their physical trauma, their disease. And so as practitioners, we open up the space of the second chakra, which is just located right underneath the belly button, and we absorb other people's energies. And sometimes, Karen, we literally hold that energy so that the patient, can feel better. And so they leave our office skipping out the front door, right? And then at the end of the night, we're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this another day. I'm sure you had, as a treating practitioner, I'm sure you had days where you were like, oh, come on, please, somebody cancel. Somebody give me a break. I need some breathing room. And then all of a sudden, you're like, what, people start canceling because that's what you're putting out to the universe.
Yeah.
But there's so much energy, right? So as an empath, being in the healing arts, we're absorbing the energy into the space of the second chakra. And unfortunately, when we are doing this for year after year, it compromises our own energy center to where our own individual life force energy becomes depleted. It drops. That's when we physically feel drained. That's when we have no energy, and that's when we become low. So the neutral separation technique, I find it incredibly beautiful. And it is as simple as, so again, I'm back out of semi-retirement. I have a small office, a boutique type style practice where I treat 2 half days out of the week, spend 30 minutes with people on the table. And then I spend the remainder of the time holding space energetically as a medical intuitive remotely for patients all over the world. So then what ends up happening, doesn't matter if I have my hands on somebody or if I'm doing it remotely. After the session, I literally will place my hands open. And for those of you that can see, for those of you that can't see, I have my palms facing out away from my body. And I set the intention, whether I say it internally or out loud, I just say, Karen, I'm gifting back to you all the energy that we have shared during our time today. And then I'm beginning to imagine that there's an energy stream. Now I'm here in Boulder, Colorado, and Karen is in the UK, somewhere around London. Is that where you are?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Karen then literally I'm asking her to receive this gift. And then I'm imagining that I'm literally in front of Karen, giving her a physical gift. I could be giving her a birthday cake. I could be giving her a small, beautifully wrapped little box with a big bow on it. And I watch Karen and I feel Karen go into a state of enthusiasm. And I watch her big little heart expand in receiving this gift. And so I wait until I feel from a psychometry level that energy going back, that stream going into Karen. It's my gift to her. And then once I feel that Karen is somewhat satisfied with the energy that she's received, then I say, okay, Karen, I'm going to reach across and take the energy, retrieve the energy which is rightfully mine. And by now, Karen's like, of course you do. I don't want to hog it all. Let me give this back to you. It's a sharing agreement. So contractually, I then wait until I receive the energy coming back into my palms through psychometry. I then take that energy, I run it from the seventh chakra on top of my head, straight down the vertical power current, and I release it back down to Mother Earth. And Mother Earth is ready, willing, and able to receive any and all discordant energy at any point in time. That is her job. She will take this energy, recycle it, and upgrade it for someone or something in need in the future. So what ends up happening magically, Karen, is that I get my life force energy back.
Yes.
I now have vitality again. I don't feel like I'm drained. I don't feel like I'm depleted. I feel more full of myself, if anything.
But isn't it, I mean, I still find it just totally fascinating because coming from, always been self-employed and this whole mentality, I've got to work, and close to burnout. And then the realization that that's actually tiring you and that's burning you out. And the way to replenish you is actually to do less, to spend time in meditation. It's so backwards to the way we have all been conditioned throughout school and how to run business and how to do all this, that you've got to work hard for money, you've got to work hard, it's this, and it's wrong, because then we're more productive when we do actually. And I love the way you said it there, and it's all about the intention, it's all about being intentional, that actually you replenish your energy. I mean, it's crazy that this isn't taught in schools. And what I still find fascinating, what you said earlier about, and again, I think that is linked to the same thing, when with regards to, you said the teachers in America weren't interested. Maybe not that they weren't interested, but very true that they're probably, just like here in the UK, under so much pressure. They just want to teach the kids, right? But because of bureaucracy, and it's probably similar over there as it is here, it's all these, they've got to reach this limit and this limit, and they've all these targets to hit, and it's all admin that's got nothing to do with the happiness, the health, the wealth of the student. And the teachers want to deal with that. They want to help the students, but they're bogged down in paperwork. So they're all caught up here. They're not going to be interested in even looking at your thing, because they think that it's going to take more energy. If only they knew. If only they knew it's going to help them. But it's fascinating that they weren't interested, yet the Colombians were.
So there's two things, Karen. You're so spot on. So let me share with you that the mindset of the Peruvian schools or the Colombian schools was, we're teaching the next generation of our leaders, and we don't like the I'm losing the word, but the shadiness of our current leadership structure. We want people emotionally regulated. We want people who are mindful in their actions. We want people that are more grounded and not less reactionary. So their mindset, because when you think about the South Americans, there's multi-generations living underneath one roof, where perhaps the American society or in the UK, that we are single family dwellings, and we don't necessarily see the intergenerational connection. And so that's one viewpoint that we found being different. Now, I wouldn't have intellectually been able to have read this in a book and assimilated this information. I had to experience it living in South America and going to the various schools in which the teachers were like in such gratitude. Thank you for providing me these tools to teach, for themselves and to be able to role model for these students.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that a shame that in both our countries that seems to have been, again, through no fault of their own, but through the systems of putting all this stress and pressure on them, that then they can't see the wood through the tree. Because they're just thinking work, work, work. They got too much on. They got
Yeah.
too much on. It's a shame.
And it is a shame. It is a shame. Let's just agree upon that. And I hope that, that there's going to be some shifting. But the second point I wanted to come back to have a discussion with you. You started talking about we are conditioned, we as a society are conditioned to drive, 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 push, 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 be. We're on that path. I certainly can say I have been there, and to some respects, I still have that egoic drive, but nothing like it was in the past. And I think that from an energetic perspective, if you don't mind going there, I'd like to talk about, how memories are stored within the cerebellum, within the brain itself. So, Karen, you're neurologically wired based upon your environment and your upbringing. Would you agree to that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the way that your mother approached business or didn't approach business has influenced you today.
Yeah, it'll be people around, your peers, yes, your immediate environment. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So we have these memories, these neurological patterns that are generated from living here on this earth at this time, right? But if you expand your thinking, you also have neurological and chemical responses that are based upon your genetic makeup. So you can look at the DNA of your parents, right? And some of the traumas maybe that they lived and how they chose to rewire themselves for survival. You can look at your parents and extrapolate it out even bigger into a culture of a group of people and what they did in order to survive. You can then extrapolate it out into, again, I'm talking esoterically speaking, but again, you can talk karmically, you can talk universally. All of these memories are stored within the cerebellum and are, whether you're conscious or in your subconscious, unconscious of these memories, they are hardwired neurologically within your brain, and they become conditioned responses, patterns. So I can say, oh wow, I really swung the pendulum far to one end on a linear spectrum, and I went through burnout because I lost my purpose. I veered so far from my purpose that I'm no longer in alignment with that. I can come back and do meditation and understand that there is a component to recentering myself, but there's neurological reprogramming that has to happen on top of that. Because otherwise, you're going to take the path of least resistance when your brain is firing and you're going to go back to old patterns.
Yes, 100%.
So I was scared for myself when I came out of semi-retirement. I'm like, okay, if I'm doing this, I'm going to do it right. And I don't know what right is, but I know what wrong is for me. And
You've been there.
I've been there, done that, got the party favor. I have to listen clairsentiently. I have to slow down my brain through meditation, listen to my body, listen to find out if there's any discordance, any areas of tightness, discomfort, anything that is talking to me, in order to realize that's my signal. If I'm veering off my path, and I'm starting to be emotionally imbalanced, or if I'm not within alignment physically, then I know that I am falling into old neurological patterns.
Right. And that takes a lot
Right.
of awareness, right? That because, as you said, we're going through these patterns unknowingly, most people, right? Unless they're aware of this, and then all of a sudden you can catch yourself, right? You can, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing, and you can, and then you're empowered enough to then do the internal work, like you say. I mean, this doesn't happen just without any work on your part. You're still spending time and committed every day to do the meditation, which takes practice. So again, we've been conditioned to not do that. I used to teach a class, it was called Body Balance. It was a mixture of Tai Chi, yoga, and Pilates, right? And at the end, it's only like 10 minutes, if you're lucky, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, not a long meditation. But in general, especially in working in the city, London, that's when they're already up, rolling up their mats, ready to go, because they perceive that the work is the exercise and that is unimportant. And you're thinking, no, you need it more than anyone. Get back in it. But people don't see it. Again, going back to that, isn't it fascinating that actually we living in a doing world, but it's just as important to have those periods of not doing anything.
So the irony, I agree with everything you're saying. And for those listeners that are listening to Karen and I at this moment, if you're like, oh, I can't possibly spare 5 or 10 minutes for meditation today, then I'm here to tell you right now that you're the person that needs 30 minutes, not 10 minutes. So that's the first thing I want to say. And then the irony of this, Karen, is that if we and when we do tap into that beautiful meditation sanctuary where we can be still and we can listen and we can observe, not in judgment, but in a place of compassion, when we finally do that, we allow so much more grace and ease into our world. So all that efforting is 100 times more exhausting than if we could just get out of our way and allow. And as a medical intuitive, that's my intention, is to serve people to their highest good. And they're like, well, a medical intuitive, I don't know, what's she going to work on? My low back pain? No, we're going to work on how to find balance. Yes, we may eventually get to your low back pain, but get to the origin of why you're having the low back pain and get to the dysfunction from the energetic perspective. But there's so much more, just as you're describing, because we are, a very doing society, and to bring your awareness internally for you to receive your own information. That's all I do, is I'm just a conduit for information. The information that I receive, no matter how I receive it, is not intended for me. It's intended for you. We all need help. We all need support that way.
Absolutely. But again, we seem to be or have been cut off from that. No, I'll rephrase that. We've been, again, conditioned to not trust that, to not hear it. And look, so I did it again myself. So after 25 years, sports therapy, fitness, I left the industry, right? But I went back to sports therapy. And that was like, that was the universe going, no, Karen, you're not supposed to be going back there. You're supposed to be going here. You'll laugh, especially as your chiropractor. So it was my birthday. And so I'm not going to lie, I was very drunk. I was at a friend's house. And I had just recovered from an ankle injury because I'd left the fitness industry. I went back into doing CrossFit. Little bit silly of me going straight back into something so intense. And I'd done my ankle in jumping on and off a box. And I fell out their house about to go and get in a cab, and my two daughters were in front of me. And I laughed because I said, at least I haven't broken my ankle. Rolled over. And as a sports therapist, the only thing I need are my thumbs, right? You know, my thumbs have got antennae on them. And I'm left-handed. So I wonder what I did. The only thing I did, I rolled over, looked at my left thumb, and it was in the completely full dislocation. So you'd think, Mary, that I would have known better. That would have been fine. I would have just gone to the doctors and had it manipulated. It would have been fine. But oh, no. I was drunk. And so I just thought, I can't let my girls see that like that because they'll freak. So I forced it back, which was a really stupid thing to do then, because now I really am in pain. And I went to have it fixed, and they actually snapped the bottom part of the bone trying to manipulate. But it's now I can look back, and at the time it was like, oh no, now what do I do? But it was because I wasn't listening. I was doing what I thought I should do. That's what I did for so long. So, something's happened. So, okay, I must go back. And it was because I wasn't connecting. I wasn't listening to what I should be doing. And it was the universe going, no, you're not listening, Karen. There you go.
And the irony of this is that you probably got multitudes of messages, right?
Yes.
Some that were a little bit more gentle, but you chose to continue to ignore those messages. And so the universe said, okay, seriously, if you think that your left thumb is what provides you security, brings you stability and financial prosperity, that left thumb, we're going to now disable it.
It was, I so believe it was that. I mean, because it was just like, that would be fine. It's only my thumb. I don't, I can do everything else other than work.
Yeah. And I have a similar story. I do. And I'm embarrassed to tell you how many messages I got from the universe. Like, I'm talking 100 messages, right? On a daily basis. Like, you're not happy. You're not in alignment. You're not in integrity with your purpose. But, I kept ignoring. And literally in my sleep, I rolled over onto my right shoulder. I'm right-handed. I'm a chiropractor. I do right side postures. My whole right shoulder collapsed. I heard a huge pop. I screamed out loud from a dead sleep, and I literally tore the rotators.
Oh.
And so I couldn't get my arm up above my head. And Karen, you're going to say, so did you go get an MRI? Nope, didn't do it. So did you, what did you do? Nothing. Did you continue to work? I sure did. Karen, and I think I'll share with you, I worked on patients and they were laying face down, and I would have tears running out of my eyes because I was in so much stinking pain, right? And so then if that wasn't enough, Karen, I kid you not, 3 months later, I blew a disc in my neck.
Oh.
So I'm telling everyone listening.
It wasn't just me. So you weren't listening either. You were not listening. Isn't it funny that we do this to ourselves? So the moral is, listen more. Take that time out to, do the inner work, which feels like you're doing nothing, but actually you're doing everything.
Just the opposite.
Yeah.
Just the opposite. Yeah.
It's so important. So for the listeners, I could talk to you for hours. I love this conversation. How do you help them now? What is your real focus now? Yes, you've got your practice there, but now you're really focusing on helping with your intuitive healing. And what else? If the listeners are out there, number one, how do they find you? And what is it that specifically you are looking for, and how can you help them?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking sincerely. And then again, I do believe that there is an energetic alignment, that the two of us are having this conversation. I believe that the listeners who are listening are in alignment with the message as well. So I do believe in the law of attraction. One of the things that I am probably most proud of is a signature program that I have titled Bounce Back from Burnout. And essentially, what I'm doing is taking a cohort of women who are 40 plus who have experienced burnout on some level. And it doesn't mean, they can, we don't have to define all the various different ways we can look at burnout, but they are essentially feeling like they're not in alignment and they want to find more health, happiness, and purpose. And this is a 5-month program, and we take an integrative approach in which, from the very beginning, the women and I get to have what is called a Discover Your Sweet Spot retreat. And that is when we do a multitude of assessments. And if they wish, they can do some blood panels to understand what's happening from a functional blood chemistry analysis. But we look at a truly integrative approach to burnout. What's happening within the body, what's happening within the mind, what's happening within the spirit. And so we define some of the areas in which are working well for these women and that we find their strengths and we maximize those. And then we also identify areas that could be improved even better if. And so we design a custom plan for these women, and that over the next 5 months, I then unveil energy techniques to help them obtain the tools to heal themselves. Yeah.
So you're empowering women. It's not about and this is the misconception, isn't it? And for me personally, again, I would say I thought I was the one fixing people. Again, ego. I'm doing this. No, it's not. You're doing it.
Mhm.
It's so strange. And I thought I was coming from a place of, from a heart-centered place. But no, it's not us that are fixing. Just trying to put
Yeah.
the body in the right position so the person can fix themselves. So with regards to burnout, what is the clinical definition of burnout for starters?
Wow. There's a researcher, Maslock, who has defined the definition of burnout, talking about one, the emotional exhaustion. Number two, the cynicism that somebody undergoes, meaning that they're feeling kind of distrusting of the organization or they're pessimistic about their business. And then the last is professional efficacy. And that is being empowered enough to maximize their skills and having the confidence to move forward and to contribute to an organization or into a business. And the reason I like looking at the definition of burnout that way is because you can say, oh, wow, somebody is really truly overextended and they just know that the physical component of exhaustion is very prevalent. So I can make recommendations specific for that person. But if somebody else is rating high on cynicism, my recommendation is going to be different. Just like if somebody is rating low on the professional efficacy, my recommendation is something different using an integrative approach. And again, it's just information. It's information for women to take this embody and learn from their own intuition. And again, they're receiving information online, but I also hold space one-on-one for these women throughout this program so that we can then tap in and Karen can say, okay, I've done the techniques in module 1. This is what I'm working on and this is what I feel. And then we open up the veil and receive intuitive information as to what's best suited for Karen. So we get more additional information and then we come together as a group and then people say, hey, wow, I'm really struggling with this technique. I can't seem to find the time. I can't seem to find whatever. And then the group, then, as psychology has shown us, that we really, if we get supported by the group and held in that container, a supportive container, then it lifts and elevates people into new expectations of themselves.
Love that.
Beautiful to
Love
watch.
that. And this is, this is just my whole issue with how far we've come from treating people holistically in the West. I'm talking about, to even if somebody out there has got no medical knowledge at all. I mean, just we are, as human beings, we are such complex things because of the mental, the emotional, the physical. Why did we ever think that one tablet is going to fix that? I mean, the whole concept just is beyond me to think that, yes, look, we've come a long way, and I'm not dissing the whole establishment here. I'm just saying it's amazing what they're doing in emergencies. Emergencies, phenomenal and great, in the right place. It all has its place. However, for the longer term chronic ailments, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and it's never going to work because of what you've just said there. Everybody is different, and just because they're presenting the same issue, the symptom, why we ever thought that taking a prescription medicine is going to be the one size fits all is beyond. I don't know how we got here. I just don't get it. I don't know how we got here.
I think we're coming full circle, though, Karen. We're coming full circle, because you and I both know, we know with every cell of our being that we have an innate knowledge to heal ourselves. We're born
100%.
that way, right? And if we look back several generations within our ancestors, and they lived off the land, and we didn't have to talk about grounding or earthing or nutrients or herbs or water or any of those, or stress, with our ancestors, because they were living in unison with the earth. But the cycle, the journey, the culture had to go through, the world had to go through, the tear down the holistic paradigm, get into an individual separatism type viewpoint of health, including the discovery of antibiotics. And they had to go through the whole germ theory and the evolution of how we can pathogenically treat the body. And then we came back in and we said, no, we are kind of whole. And so now we have an integrative approach. And then, Karen, what we're going to step into is the next phase in evolution of medicine, which includes energy medicine.
I so hope you're right. I mean, I do think, I do believe it's coming. I think more and more people, we're talking about it more. There's more and people talking about energy healing, frequencies. There's all sorts of different things coming out. I've got clients that have got the old Rife machines and this machine and that. And so they're bringing the science into it. You've got the iTerra one. You've got all sorts of things. There's lots of talk about it. And I think people are coming around to this. Oh, yeah. Actually, funny enough, I had this conversation last night on the sofa with my daughter, my youngest. She's 19. And I can't think what we were talking about, but I've still got my ultrasound machine in. I haven't used it in years. So just electrotherapy. And then she went, oh, is that the, when you're pregnant? I said, well, yes, but that's just showing you that sound waves at a certain frequency are going in through your skin into the body. And wow, look, it bounces back the image on a screen. Well, isn't that, there you go. That's frequency. At a certain frequency, it's going to go to a certain depth to bounce back. And so you believe it in some aspects. You have your ECG. Isn't that frequency? You're measuring the heart's frequency. I mean, so people get it on some levels. And then, well, look, how are we speaking today? You're on the other side of the planet to me. And the beauty of the internet, well, what is that? How is that? How are we even doing this? it is all through frequency. So yeah, I agree. I really hope things are changing. Look, I can't believe we're out of time. Dr. Mary, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. So speaking my language, and thank you so much for taking your time out today. So guys, sorry. Oh, we didn't even, how do they find you? Mary, hello.
Yes, okay. My website is a living, breathing organism. You can find me at www.dr, like doctor, drmarysanders.com.
We nearly missed that. I got so caught up in our conversation.
A beautiful conversation.
Thank you so much for your time today. And to the listeners, I will be back on Thursday with a Coffee with Karen. Bye for now.
Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.